Dude, that is a kick in the pants!
After entering into my first ever off-road motorcycling in 2020, I spent most of the year on my first CRF250L, which was a 2014. And I'm basing my top 25 picks on the experiences on both the 2014 and the 2019 that I recently bought. The 25 picks are based on my entry-level riding and perspective. There's no science to this, it's my opinion based on my research and experience so far. And I changed the order several times and finally decided if I didn't just make this video, I would keep changing the order. The bottom line here is that the video should be a helpful baseline for any of you to determine your own priority list based on your experience, wants, and needs. Before I start, be aware that I have photos, links, prices, and more on all of this stuff hosted on our website. And you can find a link to our site down in the details section of this video. As I switch or add anything to this bike, the website will show the latest updates, so check back often. Let's get started with number 25. As I head towards my top picks, I'm starting with things that I think are optional, but either helpful or just cool. And 25 is obviously for looks. These were the first ever rim wraps for a CRF250L, and I had them created with my RDR logos. Decals are always subject to personal taste, and I'm a fan of them. And I like how these turned out. Check out my installation video for details. 24. Rear fender eliminators are simply to improve the looks, and obviously if you plan on doing a lot of riding in the wet, you would probably be better off to have the protection of the OEM rear fender or even an extension, but I like how they look. 23. The foot brake pedal has a movable pedal with safety wire that should help in the event of a crash. And the one that I chose was the Zeta trigger. 22. The same goes for the shifter. Although the 2019 came with a movable pedal from the factory, I still went with the Zeta revolver. 21. The fat handlebars should be more stout and have a better chance of surviving a crash over the OEM bars. 20. It's common knowledge that replacing the OEM mirrors with something more movable should help with a crash. But these offer exceptional viewing, and I really like the way they look on this setup. 19. An exhaust is definitely not a requirement, and opinions vary on how much, if any, performance you'll gain. But you will save weight definitely. Almost everything from the factory is going to be a much better improvement on weight on the bike. And the other thing for me on aftermarket is I like to be heard by as many folks as possible when I'm on the street. For safety reasons, of course. 18. The little stock tank has horrible range, so adding some kind of additional fuel container will help. Although you may find yourself having to use it on a regular basis because of the short range on that stock tank. 17. The side racks give you extra strap-down possibilities and help ensure your bags won't get burned by your exhaust or interfere with your tire area. And they may add protection in the event of a tip-over. The top plate offers more strap-down points in the rear, plus has a nice mounting area for a Rotopax or other larger bag options. It worked particularly well with the big bag that included my tent and all the camping supplies. I chose Precision motorcycle racks which stand behind their stuff with a lifetime warranty. 16. A motorcycle-specific GPS offers options that target motorcycle adventuring in modes that make it easier to operate with gloves on. 15. An accessory bar adds more handy choices for mounting in better positions. I tapped into the solid aluminum and inserted my ram mount with 1-inch balls. I prefer the stability of ram mounts, and they're generally amongst the first things I put on to help capture video or mount other accessories. 14. OEM lines are normally just rubber, and when you squeeze the line, it expands and you lose valuable feel. But braided lines help hold the shape, reducing expansion and giving you great feel. This is particularly important on the street, and I run them on all my race bikes. 13. During my forum searches, I determined a gearing setup that I wanted to switch to and took the opportunity to install the best sprockets on the planet. I chose my super sprockets in gold to match the gold front forks and went with an X-ring gold chain as well. With proper maintenance, this setup is going to last a long time. See my super sprockets video for details. 12. When looking for a tail bag, I determined it would be ideal to get one that would be expandable and that would integrate with side bags. Both the tail bag and the side bags have zippers to allow the bags to expand and carry more stuff. 11. I generally favor OEM levers. I just like the big stock feel. But after spending the summer with shorties, I like having the room to slide my pinky around the ends of the levers, between the lever and the hand guards, and I found myself regularly using 2 or 3 fingers when I pull the levers when I'm riding. And now into the top 10 we go. If the bike falls over, nothing will help minimize your damage to the extent a crash cage will. T-Rex Racing has been handling protection on my bikes for the last few years and minimized damage during the only crash I've had so far. One of their hallmark designs is really solid mounting, and their crash cage is no exception to this. 9. Rocks can get flung from a friend in front of you and ruin your day if it wrecks your radiator. I normally run Cox Racing radiator guards on all of my bikes, so I looked there first, and when I saw they didn't have one, I found a cheap one on eBay. Since then, I have seen other vendors that make better quality and really good prices, so I may wind up switching this out. 8. At the time of creating this video, I'm still running the OEM plastic skid plate, which is basically non-existent. The only reason I rank the skid plate this low on my list is because of my beginner status. As confidence increases and I get into harder trails and higher speeds, both will lead to the inevitable need to have an aftermarket skid plate. Check the website to see which one I choose. 7. You will regularly dismount your bike when you go on rides, and when you ride off-road, your kickstand will get into some terrain that isn't as stable as pavement. A bigger footprint is essential in those situations. 6. Some of you are going to question why tires didn't make it into my top 5. But keep in mind, my perspective is on a brand new rider that is going to be figuring out where they will spend most of their riding, and their choice of traction leaning will be based on that. I spent the summer with Kendas that were on my used 2014 and really liked them on the road, and they didn't feel like they left me needing more grip when I was off-road. I'm currently riding with the OEM tires on the 2019 while I determine what I will be mounting up for next season, so check back to see what I go with. And finally, the top 5. I knew that the seat height was annoying, but after riding the Africa Twin that has a much lower seat height with its OEM seat adjuster, the extra height on this CRF250L is just painful, particularly when off-road. You get into some bad off-camber situations, and getting off or on the bike is really difficult. It's not like I can just swing my leg around the back fender anymore when I'm running rear luggage. My 2014 didn't have the little tweaks that my 2019 has, which is causing my seat height to be higher. I don't want to mess with my suspension, so I plan to fix my problem with a lower seat mod. I haven't selected one yet, but will update the site when I do. 4. When I bring up handguards, I'm not talking about wind deflectors. I'm talking about real protection. Many scenarios can transpire that could mess up your hands. Whether it be hitting limbs on trails or crashing, good solid guards are essential to help protect your hands, and should be high on your list to get right off the bat. 3. The CRF250L has no place to store things. I mean none. Rather than wearing a backpack, which is what I started out doing right off the bat, I got a rear rack from PMR Racks out of California. They have a lifetime warranty, and they offer expansions for side racks, so this was one of the first things I mounted on my bike. 2. I spent the first couple of months riding with the OEM pegs and never felt stable standing on them. The only reason I could think of that the factory puts tiny pegs on a dual sport is to help the aftermarket sell their bigger peg options. When I found Fastway, I selected their biggest offering, which was their adventure pegs. I have to admit they were pretty expensive, but they made a huge difference in riding. I can't begin to express the immediate impact to my confidence when standing on the pegs. In fact, there is no comparison, and larger pegs could have easily been my #1 pick. And the #1 pick is... Okay, if you've been following the series, you shouldn't be surprised at all to hear that my #1 modification is getting a larger tank. The range on the CRF250L's OEM tank sucks. Period. Even with the best gas mileage in the group, I would be the first to the low fuel light every time. The IMS tank is the largest on the market and took me from the worst range in the group to one of the best. And their option to use the OEM gas cap is a no-brainer. If they make it for your bike, definitely get that OEM gas cap option, as those plastic screw-on caps drove me crazy on my 2014. Make sure you check out my detailed IMS tank video to find out all the reasons to choose their tank. And there we have it. Hopefully this will help you to get started on making your own top 25 list. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.